BRS reviews here, and we're going to work on a power mod for this gamepad. It does take batteries, and we want to change this to USB rechargeable. So the first thing to do would be to take it apart, because we need to take it apart. And we're using the TP4056, which it should be scrolling up on the screen here. It's the charging module. It's a USB-C. Showing on the top one too. And you just hook your battery into it. And the two middle ones and the outer ones are positive, negative for the controller. This is the battery I'm going to use. So 2300 mAh, 3.7 volt. That's what that is. It's pretty small. I was figuring if we can get it to fit in one of the sides here. And I want to get the charger to fit maybe on the top. That way we can use this window to show us that we're charging and when we're done charging. Because it does have two indicators on it that are LED over here. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this controller apart. So let's get started on that. I'm not going to be able to reach that far, so I'm going to take it apart and come right back. Alright, the screws are out. Let's take this thing apart. If it's going to be easy or hard to do, doesn't seem too hard. Sorry, it's kind of a reach for me to get over to this far. So here's our triggers. And there's our power. So if we want to leave the power to the battery case, we would have to leave that on. I accidentally knocked the trigger out. Which can be fixed. So that is step one. And now we need to remove all these boards. So the main board seems like it's just on pegs. This little board here has screws in it. And this is your switch for power. So that all needs to come apart. I think it only has one screw holding onto it though. That's what it really looks like. It's just one. It looks like there's a spot for another one, but it's not there. So I don't know if they forgot it or they didn't put it in or what. So, and I'm not sure what LM power is. What is LM power? Anyway. And there's a RM power. What's that? Oh, for the dual shocks. This controller does not have any dual shocks. That's what that's for. Okay. Right motor, left motor. That would be what it is. So, now I'm thinking about just going from this battery lead here and putting our battery power to here, because that's all we would have to do. And then we just need to figure out how to get that module inside here. So if we take this apart, we can have a better look. So this is what it looks like flipped over. So we're seeing a spot in the case here where the lights go. Actually has a shield, so it only has 4 indications. If the controller even handles that, I don't know. I see 2. So there's no really good way of using that viewport for charging. What we could do, let's go back to the module. We could take the LEDs off and either wire them so you can see them on the controller, or I could use different LEDs into the remote. So I have to decide what I want to do there. Would be nice if I could just put it in here, but I don't think that motherboard's going to let me do that. I might have issues with button contact and other things, so we're going to figure something else out. Alright, so we're going to make this rechargeable, so we don't need the battery pack having power anymore. So we're just going to take the wires from there. So I'm going to cut this one here and cut the negative off of here too. And we're going to use that for the main power source for the controller. So in between here, this is for the battery, and this is the power. So we're going to put these two wires on the power side, which the negative goes to this side and the positive goes to that side. And then, since we're going to use this battery, let's get rid of this controller part for now. It will fit in here. But in doing so, we're going to cut these two tabs out right here and here. And to do that, I'm going to use some clippers. Because those tabs were used to hold a motor for a rumble pack kind of thing. We don't want rumble in the controller, so it's not installed. You can install it, but I'm not going to. It's probably what made this controller cheaper. If I get these out a little better. I'll be looking for plastic later. Just want to get this a little bit further down. So there's the other side. They were kind of pointed like that, if you can see what I'm doing. And then now we got that, which they're pretty much gone. So see if that battery fits in there now. So there is two little tabs. There's one big tab here I'm thinking about getting rid of, if you can see where my finger is. So let's get rid of that one quick. I'm trying to get that as smooth as possible here. That isn't horrible. So with those motor mounts gone, I can mount a battery there. And what I'm going to do is use some hot glue to hold the battery in place. That don't look too bad. So now we got our wires split, ready to solder. This one I'm going to use for the battery. And it's just going to be a orange and white wire. And then we got our controller power, which is the red and black. Strip back. And now it's time to solder some points on here. I like using a piece of wood sometimes. That way I can just hold it down on there. Sometimes I'll use a strip of tape to hold it. Like this one right here. But I probably want to throw the wires through there first before I tape it down. So we're going to have a plus for the battery, which let's do that one first. Gotta twist the wires quick. There we go. Alright, now we got the battery wires in there. I need to do positive on this side, which I'm having a hard time seeing because it's got low lighting in here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. There's the plus for the controller, and then this is the minus for the controller. Alright, now that I got all the wires in there, let's paste this down. And I need to put that more on the block than that. Might need some more lighting. There we go, now we got some light. Alright, so what we're trying to do here is solder all these points. Now you can pre-tin your wires. I'm not going to, I already got them in there, so I'm just going to solder the whole damn thing. So I don't know if you can still see what I'm doing. We're going to get this pad hot. Push some solder through. Do the same to this side. Try to get our wire in there. There we go. Got that pad nice and hot. And now we need to do the battery wires. And what I did here was I folded those wires over so that I can cut the excess off with the snippers. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to get this pad hot. We're just going to fill it in with solder. You want to try to get the wire hot too, but do the best you can here. There we go. That one's soldered. Now I'll do this one. And there we go. Now we got it soldered up. And we can cut the excess wire off. I'm hoping that these two wires in here are still soldered pretty well on there, because they have some long leads on the back of that. So I mean, they don't come out or anything, they're tuggable, so they should be good. And now we need to put the battery onto here, and once we do that, we should have some power to this controller. So now that this is done, let's put the soldering iron down back in its tray, and let's get the battery over here. So we can put this back over here for now, and then we're going to take this and the battery, put the battery down, and remember we're using orange for the positive, so we're going to want to put the positive on here and the white for the negative. I'm going to bend that a little flatter. Alright, so let's try to get this done here. I'm going to pre-tin the wire this time because it's going on a battery. So in order to do that, we'll just leave the wire down on the wood, if I can, and just cut and tin that up. Sorry for being shaky. Get that wire nice and hot. There's some tin on that. The orange one's going to be a little more difficult because of the way I got the wire cut. So let's tape that one down and hold my wire. And then we're just going to tin that wire without hitting the battery. So let's kind of twist this a little bit. Alright, so let's put this down. Get this wire nice and hot. Tin it down. That should work. Got a little bit of a ball on there, but that's fine. Okay, so hopefully I got enough on that negative. I believe I do. So now we need to get this wire soldered onto this battery. And at the moment, I only want to get the positive done. And you're not going to want to put heat on the battery for very long at all. Maybe it'd be easier to do it this way. And hopefully it's still in the camera. So the first thing we want to do is get this positive connected. And we're going to want the wire to kind of go that way. So if I can hold on to this and kind of push this on the positive. So sorry guys, my camera died because the battery's low, and I got the battery soldered, which was a pain in the ass because the solder did not want to stick to it. But I finally got it. So we got the controller together, and this is all trimmed up, so the leads are all not sticking out anymore. There's the battery. Wires are tight on there. Now I'm just going to hot glue the battery. Let's use this as a holder. I'm going to hot glue the battery into the controller now. So let's take the battery out. Controller's gonna fall over, of course. We'll put some hot glue down in here. Leave it. Set the battery back in. Hold it for a few seconds. And we should be good there. Alright, so the battery's in there. I do have some points on my solder on the battery, but it ain't gonna hurt anything. It's not touching anything, so there's that. So now we can flip the controller over and test to see if there's power. There should be. So I'm gonna have to glue this board down too. So I'm thinking about putting it right where it's sitting. But anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna all lose here in a second. Let's turn this on and look at that. We got power. It's looking for the Bluetooth. There you go. So now that we have power, I'm thinking about gluing this board right here. You can see it on the side better. If I glue it here, I could just cut out the spot for the USB-C. That way we can charge it. And I'm also thinking we could take these LEDs off of the board here. I can put wires in there for the leads and then somehow put them on this plastic. That way you can tell that the controller is powered and charging, or if it's done charging. So that would probably be my next step. I'm also going to measure with the caliper how many millimeters that I have to cut this plastic to get this to fit in the controller. At the moment, I do not want to glue it down yet. So instead of taking the LEDs off the board itself, which there's a red and a blue one around in here, like I showed before. Okay. Instead of doing that, we're going to take the leads where the solder is right there for the LEDs, and we're going to put these in there. So I got one green one and one red one. And then we'll put that in the holes of the ones we're not using for the controller. That way we can indicate when the controller's powered and charging and when it's actually charged. Alright, so we took some wire here. It's this here, this wrapping wire. I don't really care for it particularly, but it works good for small applications for like LEDs and stuff. I use it on LEDs. So an LED has an anode and a cathode. And on your minus side, you'll see the bigger metal chunk in there. So that's your negative cathode. And your anode's the smaller side, which is going to be, in this case, on the right. But you can't really tell. Anyway, the longer lead is the positive on these. So all I got to do is figure out on that board which way to solder these wires. It's going to turn on or off on which side it's correct. So we'll figure that out here. So just for the sake of it, I just permanent marker and mark the negative side black. So I have a black wire on there and a blue wire, so I can tell which way what goes what. It'll be kind of hard to see, so there we go. What we're going to do here is put this back on charge again to see which way is the negative and which way is the positive. We could use a multimeter, which probably work better. So instead of lighting it up with a light, we're going to use a multimeter. Okay. And then we'll come back and I'll show you each individual LED glued down so then you can see what I'm doing. There's one of them, that's the charging one. Power to the charging. And it's coated with hot glue if you can see that. And now I'm going to do the other side for the batteries charged. Okay, so now the green one's in there. It's all down. So now we're going to see if the controller will fit back together. Hopefully it will. So it's all down in there now. And we're just going to glue the board down and see if we can get this to where we can get the USB cut out. And then we'll be done with this mod. So let's get that done here. But I think that'll work out. Just to tell you guys, you do not have to use these long of leads. I do it on purpose, so when I take the controller back apart, I can work on it. So what I did was just kind of tacked them down with some glue, just a little bit. That way I could take them back off if I need to have the full length of the leads. So that's the reason why those are tacked down like that. It makes the controller look a little cleaner anyway. So now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna cut the case to fit the USB on the top. And then put it back together and make sure all the buttons work. All the buttons should work because the way this casing works on this controller is it pushes on the circuit board. So that should make it work. We'll find out. In order to see how far down I want to put this cut into my controller for the power USB, I'm going to use a caliper that's millimeters, so that's how I'm going to measure which depth I need to make it. Alright, so this is getting in the way, so I just cut it. You don't have to do it that way. You can put some type of spacer in there to make it work, but I'm just going to cut that, and it's still going to be able to work with batteries, so the battery will fit right over that, so I won't hurt it any. Anyway, now I got this all lined out to cut. If you can see that scoring there, I'm going to cut that. Need to unplug my glue gun here. It doesn't need to be gone anymore. I'm going to cut that and see if I can get that lined up. Now I do have an old power cord, which is junk. This here. So I might just get it hot and melt it right there. And see if I can get that to open up the right size that I need. I think we're good here. We got this all cut out now. And I did cut the whole module hole, if you can see that. You don't have to. I don't even think it touches it. So it's just kind of a whole pressure point of pressing on it because of the housing. Do you see all the round circles here? That actually presses against this board to hold all the buttons down. So that's why it's so hard to put back together. Another thing is putting the trigger buttons back in the bottom. So I'm going to do that now and get the controller together and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, the controller's back together. The port you can see. It's in there. Okay. Now let's plug the controller in to charge it. There we go. See, it's charging. There you go. Now just wait for it to charge and then see if the green light comes on. And then I can play some games. And now it's a rechargeable controller instead of taking batteries for the price of a pack of batteries, basically. So yeah, you can see the whole module in here now because I cut that out. But you don't have to. It will fit. And then that doesn't even matter because this goes right back over it. So that doesn't even matter. And now I have a charging controller. So for that, wasn't all that bad. It's just a lot of moving stuff around in there. So if you want to do a charging controller, that's how you would do it. So I hope you liked this video. I'm sorry it was a lot of stopping and recording again, but that's how I could work on the controller. So if you like this video, please like it. And if you want to see more like this, please subscribe. Appreciate it. Now remember that this is only going to charge the controller. It's not connected to the circuit board in any way to make it USB. So you're not going to play USB with this controller. It is going to be strictly wireless like it is made. Thanks for watching, guys.